My name is Dr. Sarah McCray and I reside in South Carolina. I'm making this video because I want my voice heard. I want people to know what's going on in South Carolina and what's going on in the United States of America. I've been raped by the Reverend Elder Jimmy Jonathan Montgomery of Columbia, South Carolina. I've had other sexual assaults committed against me by Reverend Montgomery. Held me against my will, battered me, assaulted me, manipulated me, used coercion, deceit, you name it, he used it on me. He told me he was a professional counselor. Misrepresentation, that was fraud that he told me, and he lured me to his office for counseling. And I gave him all this information about me, thought he was a professional counselor. And I learned later that he was not. He told me his office was at the Wesley Foundation Student Ministry at Claflin University in Orangeburg, South Carolina. He told me that he was the chaplain of Claflin University and South Carolina State University in Orangeburg, South Carolina. And he was also a full-time professor at Claflin University. He told me his office was at the Wesley Foundation and I came there for counseling. Well, this happened in January of 2007. Some people would say with 2007 is 2011. Well, the trauma that I'm dealing with is like it happened yesterday. And I went to him for counseling and he counseled me, and then he ended up taking me in a room, another room. I asked where we were going. He told me everything was going to be okay, and I was crying. He started using Bible scripture and saying God put him in my life, he's going to take care of me, and that, he's going to get me a job, and, my life going to turn around, and he's going to get demons out of me. And he started talking negative about my husband, and he said, but you're going to have to do something for me. And I was like, what? And he told me, saying that to engage in a sexual relationship with him. And I told him, no, I don't want to. I told him I just made a confession to you, and I said, it took me 30 years to get to this point to want to turn my life over to the Lord. I don't like the direction my life is going in. I want to try to save my marriage. I need a full-time job. I have student loans I need to pay. I feel like if I get a job, then carry my own weight, then things will be different with my marriage. And I begged him not to interfere with this. It took me 30 years before I started back taking communion and get to that point that I thought I'd never get to. And he keeps saying that I want to be selfish, that he's going to help me and turn my life around and stuff, and I can't do that for him. Somehow I end up looking down and see where he had his pants off. I don't even remember him taking his pants off. He had on boxers and he was erect and he had on a condom. Yeah, and then we end up laying down. I don't know how my pants got on, and he was putting my legs up on his shoulder, and I was trembling. And my legs keep sliding down. He keep putting it back up. And then I was like, I can't do this. I said, I made a confession to you. I ready to turn my life over to the Lord. I went to you, come to you for marital counseling. Don't make me do this. I begged him not to. But then he forced himself onto me and in me. And he raped me. And he sodomized me. And I told him that he was in my rectum. I hollered and tell him to take it out. He put his hand over my mouth, and then I was wiggling, trying to get him to get out of me. I don't know whether he finally took it out of me or whether it came out, but I knew that it was out. I got into a fetal position and I was crying, and he started comforting me, and I asked him, why did he just rape me? He told me, said he didn't rape me. He told me, say that I agreed to it. I said, I told you that I didn't want to do it. I changed my mind, and he told me, say that I couldn't change my mind, that it wasn't rape. He told me that nobody's going to believe me, and he told me that he's a minister. Who won't believe a minister? I thought about all of that, and I thought about, in 2006, I just graduated with a PhD. I didn't want any trouble. I didn't want my career to be over with before it even got started good, and I was already being an adjunct professor at one of the universities. But it was a university that was in Columbia, South Carolina. And then I end up leaving, and I end up, I don't remember how many days after that, I end up telling Reverend Joseph Wilson II, who was an attorney and who was a former judicial judge, and he was the pastor of Ida Quincy New United Methodist Church where I was a member. And I told him about it. He said he couldn't believe that he did that to me. And I told him, yeah, and I told him he threatened to tell my confession, and he talking about he was gonna tell my husband about what happened, and like everything would be my fault. And he shook his head saying that he could not believe that he did this. And we kept talking. And then I said, but how you saying you're going to get me a full-time job? You know, if I do all this, and my life gonna change and stuff. And I told him I was diagnosed with major depression. I told Jimmy this also, Jimmy Montgomery, and I told him about it. And he told me, no, I'm not depressed. And I said, yes, I am. I said, don't judge me by the way I look. I got a lot going on inside of me. He prayed with me. Then he came around his desk and hugged me when I was about to leave. And then he started kissing me. And then we would end up French kissing. And then I was pushing him away, and he was holding me so tight. And then I finally pushed him away, and I was like, why did this just happen? I tell him, I say, my head is messed up. I can't deal with this. Why did this just happen? What did I do? How did I act? How did I cause this? He wouldn't answer. I begged him to tell me, what did I do? And he finally looked at me and told me I didn't do anything. I said, so why did this happen? He told me, saying that he was a weak vessel. Then I started feeling sorry for him that, he told me that he trusted me enough that he told me this, that he was a weak vessel and he a minister. Then I started giving him gospel songs so that to help him. I feel guilty in judging him, knowing that what he did to me was wrong, but I was weak and I wanted a personal relationship with God. And the least thing I need to do was pass judgment on him. And so I told him that he messed my head up even worse. And so Jimmy ended up telling me that he wanted me to go to this banquet so I could see him in this leadership position. He know people that he was going to talk to, and I'm going to get a job and everything. And then he tell me he talked to some people and stuff. And then, being happy and saying that, God answered my prayers and this and that, to just stick, in there with him. Yeah, they ended up having sex. We probably had sex about 4 times from January to April. And last time we communicated was in July of 2007. Well, I had an interview. I keep calling the guy at Claflin until he gave me an interview. I had an interview in August of 2007, August 3rd. Well, I was given a job. I've given classes to teach. Then he said he was going to negotiate my salary. Then I ended up getting a letter saying that I wasn't even qualified for the job. Well, I felt like I didn't know what was going on. And I felt like, well, Jimmy must have said something to them. What a coincidence that I stopped having sex with him. I was given this job and then got a letter saying that I wasn't even qualified for the job, that they're looking for somebody with years of teaching experience, but the advertising didn't state there. And I still to this day have a copy of that advertisement in the letter that he sent me, in the classes that they gave me to teach. Well, in December of 2007, the last Sunday that I went to church, I asked Reverend Wilson who governs them, and he told me that the bishop. And I told him, I said, well, I'm going to the bishop and tell the bishop about what Jimmy did, what was going on between me and Jimmy. He told me no. He told me to let him talk to Jimmy. I told him no, it was too late. And he looked at me, and then I left. And Jimmy called me that following Monday, and I seen that it was him when I answered my cell phone, and I just hung up. And in January, I went to the bishop, the South Carolina Conference, United Methodist Church, and I went to the bishop, and I told him about what happened, and I was Jimmy's mistress. And I didn't realize that I was all the stuff that Jimmy put in my head, that like I was in agreement with everything, but it was coerced and deception. And I played in his hand by saying that I was his mistress, because he's married and I'm married, and we was having an affair. And I learned later that it was not an affair, that the way he wanted to be and wanted to look like it was an affair, so I wouldn't tell nobody anything, that everybody would be blaming me for what was going on, because I know I'm not a perfect being. But Jimmy is unequal power. He's in a position of authority and leadership, spiritual. The church is supposed to be a safe haven. I went there and for help, and he harmed me. He raped me, and he caused severe harm, that I'm now permanently disabled. I'm suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder and bipolar disorder. That's not how my life's supposed to be, with all that I've gone through all my life. being raped throughout my life as I can remember as 3 years old. I can't believe this was happening to me as an adult. I was told to stay out of trouble with the law, educate yourself, and you'll be successful. Well, I stayed out of trouble with the law. I started educating myself at a later age. I wanted to behave my own way. That I educated myself. Jimmy used me. He took my information and used it against me and harmed me and caused severe personal injury to me. And I haven't worked since 2007. And I can't believe all these years has passed. I turned to the church. The church investigated this. And then I told them that I had a condom that Jimmy made me take home as a souvenir. And I forgot all about it. She asked Jimmy to take a DNA test. Jimmy took a DNA test. I took a DNA test. And both of them came back positive that it was Jimmy DNA on the inside of the condom and mine's on the outside of the condom. But Jimmy still denied that he ever had sex with me, he ever counseled me, he ever promised me a job. He lied during the whole time. They had a church trial. They found Jimmy guilty of clergy sexual misconduct. All the crimes the church didn't even adopt. They didn't want me to talk about all the crimes that Jimmy committed against me. And they defrocked him. So he's no longer an elder or minister. But justice still was not served. I tried to get an attorney and stuff so I can go to court. But no attorney wanted to represent me in good faith for what they did. Bishop Mary Taylor, the letters that you sent me, they were threats. I take them as threats and intimidation. You all were deceitful as well. You all used me, used trickery, trying to get the rest of the condom away from me, but I won't give it up. So y'all start retaliating. And Reverend Diane Mosley, where the bishop had you as being my advocate, you told me, in the council for the church, you told me saying that I didn't need to get an attorney. Y'all was going to take care of me. And you keep asking me about how much my student loan and stuff to try to make me think that you was going to pay off my student loan. I told you I talked to an attorney. You got all upset and saying I didn't need no attorney, that's what we got Jeff for. I said, Jeff, y'all attorney. You all were selfish. Y'all set me up with a counselor so that counselor betrayed my trust. You all betrayed my trust and harmed me. After 2.5 to 3 months, then she ended up telling me, the counselor at Mount Hebron United Methodist Church, she didn't tell me that her husband is a minister. Well, she told me on day one that her husband was not a minister. I asked her, and I asked her whether she was one. She told me no. I said, then why your office at this church, Mount Hebron United Methodist Church? She said, for convenience. Then in September the 30th, she told me that she needed to be honest with me and told me that her husband is a minister. I told her that I felt like I was raped all over again. I asked her why. Why did she do this to me? She told me saying that because of a conversation we had prior to. I told her no, it was not that. And she started talking in riddles and stuff and codes, and they tell me that I need to get an attorney. I didn't know what was going on. No justice was served. I'm a citizen of the United States of America, a natural-born citizen, and I can't find an attorney to represent me in good faith with all the harm that the United Methodist Church has done to me. I've contacted Clergy and a whole lot of other organizations. Jim Clergy, I'm a constituent of yours. My husband went to you for help. I went to you for help. You turned your back on my family. You tried to help them cover it up. The president of Clafton University, you knew about this too. I sent a certified letter to the president of the United States because I feared for my life. I heard nothing from him. Those students and stuff at Clafton University were put in danger. Jimmy was on trial in 1974. The United Methodist Church, they knew about what Jimmy did, and they kept Jimmy on the job at Clafton University and didn't suspend him until August when they knew about the DNA test back in April or May. All they cared about was the money. Well, I'm out here and I want my voice to be heard. And I'm not going away. I'm not going to try to commit suicide no more. I want to live, and I want justice.